Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you for being able to attend this class, or this course rather, because as you know, everything that we do in Ramadan, every act of worship that we do in Ramadan, the reward is multiplied so many times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by himself is the one who decides how many rewards we will get. So among the acts of worship is to learn. And what do we learn? We are learning how to present Islam, the religion of Allah, to non-Muslims. Actually, the best thing that we can do, one of the best that the Prophet, peace be upon them, did, and the best that we can hope to achieve. So every effort that you render in learning and in doing every good act during this month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you rewards without measure. So by coming here, you are reaping a lot of rewards. It's very difficult to condense this course in just 1 month, and each session lasts for an hour or an hour and a half or an hour and a quarter. This course, to be given its rights, we have to do it in 4 months. But if we can't do it all, we will just concentrate on some points. So today we will be focusing on the importance of doing da'wah and the characteristics of a da'iyah, the qualities that we have to equip ourselves with if we want to be effective in da'wah. So I chose to begin with this quote, which says, "Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something." So as a Muslim, especially when you are doing da'wah, you have to choose what you say. You have to choose in what situation to say what. You have to make sure the person you are dealing with, you have an introduction of that person. You have some knowledge about that person. This will help you in dealing with this person. And actually, when you think deeply about this quote, and you compare it with the definition of Al-Ihsan by Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim, Ibn Al-Qayyim classified Al-Ihsan into 3 categories. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about Al-Ihsan, he said, "أَن تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَاهُ فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ." Al-Ihsan is to worship Allah as though you see Him. And if you don't see Him, He sees you. So in other words, whatever you do, you will make sure that you do it in the perfect way, because you are doing it for the sake of Allah. And you are expecting boundless rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you will try your best to do it in the best possible manner, because you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over you. So Ibn al-Qayyim classifies al-ihsan into 3 categories. There is al-ihsan in your intention. So we know very well that we will be rewarded for the acts of worship that we do according to our intention. If our intention is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will reward us. If our intention is to achieve our ulterior motives, we will get them, but we will not get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, al-ihsan fil qasd, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim says having an intention is not enough. This intention has to be adorned with knowledge. So you have the intention to pray, you have to learn how to pray. You have the intention to do da'wah, you have to learn how to do it, because if you don't have the skills of doing it, you will do it in the wrong way. And maybe even if your intention is to bring people to Islam, because you are doing it in the wrong way, you will chase people away from Islam, and you will take part of the sin of those people not accepting Islam. So if you want your intention to be good, you have to adorn it with knowledge. You learn how to do whatever you intend to do. 1. 2, you clean your intentions from ulterior motives. So what you're doing, you are doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to equip yourself with determination. Something that you can do today, don't postpone it for tomorrow, because you're not sure if you'll be alive tomorrow. Don't say, I will do da'wah after 2 years, after 3 years. Which guarantees do you have that after 2 years you will still be alive? The second level of al-ihsan, according to Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, is to gracefully, kindly, help your Muslim brothers and sisters, and if they happen to commit any mistakes or faux pas, you gracefully hide them. And if you want to reform their behavior, you explore the best possible means of doing that. In other words, you don't shame your brothers and sisters. You don't dishonor your brothers and sisters. You don't criticize them in public. So you are preoccupied with the mindset of reforming your brothers and sisters while giving them their dignity. And the third one, which is most important, to spend your life thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do. So if this is your attitude as a believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you abundantly. So in this course, this is an overview of the course. So we'll be talking about meaning and aspects of da'wah, etiquette and points to consider before and when doing da'wah, strategies and methods of conveying the message of doing da'wah, and commonly asked questions and how to answer them briefly. You can either answer those questions with details, or you can answer them briefly. So first of all, what's the meaning of da'wah? Da'wah means to call someone. So for example, you've gone somewhere with someone, you don't see that person, or you see him from a distance, so you call that person. Or you are with someone and you see something interesting, you call that person to come and see. Or you are with someone and you've been invited somewhere and you've been given the chance to go with that someone, you call that person. So da'wah means to call, it means to invite, present, to convey the message, among others. And all these definitions of da'wah, they come into play when we do da'wah. There are some situations when you will need to call the non-Muslim. When he is already on the side of accepting Islam, then you just have to need a slight movement of calling that person. Or if there is something interesting for the non-Muslim and you want him to benefit from that something interesting, you will call him. And all these efforts, if your intention is to do da'wah to him, you will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You invite him, maybe you make a banquet, lunch, dinner, and the reason for inviting him is to prove to him that we are friendly, we are not your enemy. Even if you are not a Muslim, we will treat you as a human being, we will treat you well. This is our religion. Presenting Islam to him in a very beautiful way and according to convenience, and to convey the message. It also means convocation. Now what I mean by convocation is a large formal assembly of people in particular. So a very big assembly, a very big convention, a very big meeting of people. So in some situations, if for example you want to present Islam in a different way to diplomats, so in this case, one of the ways of doing it is to invite them and to talk about something which is of common interest to Muslims and non-Muslims. So you invite people to an assembly to talk about something important, but your aim is for you to interact with the non-Muslims, to talk to them, to show them the positive side of Islam. And even when you're talking about the topic of mutual benefit between Muslims and non-Muslims, you are trying to show to show Islam in a positive way, in a positive light. It also means to appeal, to demand, to claim, to send for missionary work or activity, prayer, invocation, supplication, good wish, propagate, etc. To mention but a few. All these definitions will come into play when we talk about the methods of doing da'wah. So, the action of calling people together for a large formal meeting is called a convocation, and this is one of the means of doing it, especially if you are dealing with high-ranking people. For example, some Islamic organizations during Ramadan, they do an iftar for diplomats. So they invite diplomats. The aim in it is to do da'wah indirectly, and they have a very tactful way of conveying the message to those people. So this is also part of da'wah. Now, da'wah doesn't mean only talking, speaking, inviting people. There are so many aspects of da'wah. Words. saying good words to a person. This is da'wah. Whether you are talking about Islam or any other topic, a Muslim, a believer, cannot be vulgar in his behavior. You can't use bad words. You can't use swear words. A Muslim, even if you are angry, you'll try to make sure you guard your tongue, because people will be observing you. People are fed up of words. They want to see actions. So your tongue is a very important tool, either to make someone like you or to make someone hate you. So words, actions, and behavior, all this is da'wah. So the essence of it is to live up to the teachings of Islam. Now, some people have become Muslims without a person saying a word to them about Islam. And the non-Muslims were working with the Muslims, and the Muslims were behaving in a good way, being professional at work, keeping time, being kind, generous. So this arose the curiosity of the non-Muslims. They wanted to know, what's your motivation for this? Why are you a good guy? Why do you keep time? The person would say, it's because of Islam. So people would start learning about Islam from the behavior of a Muslim. And actually the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. So I was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to perfect good manners. A lot of people were attracted to Islam because of how the Prophet ﷺ treated them, because of how the Prophet ﷺ behaved in the company of his companions. So when they saw that he was kind, helping, generous, forbearing, they decided to become Muslims. So da'wah is not restricted to words. Your actions with the intention of arousing or drawing the attention of that person, this is also regarded as da'wah. So in brief, you should be a role model in whatever you say and do. So you can see this picture here. If you are a trainer, especially the trainees, if you want to teach them new moves, you have to do them first. So you don't just tell them to do when you don't do it. So we have to learn from the trainers that if you want people to take seriously what you do, you have to be the first person to practice what you say. You have to be the first person to practice what you preach. For example, you are talking to a non-Muslim about salah, about prayer. You hear the adhan. The non-Muslim hears the adhan, and here you are still talking. You don't go to pray. So what message are you conveying to the non-Muslim? You're talking to a non-Muslim about the dangers of smoking, yet he sees you smoke. You are talking to a non-Muslim that people have to respect one another, whether you are rich or poor, high position or doing a menial job. Here you are, after talking to a non-Muslim, he hears you abuse or disrespect another person. So what message are you sending? So our behavior is also one aspect of doing da'wah, which is very, very important, which will attract the curiosity of the non-Muslims. Then they will ask us questions, and when they are in a position of asking questions and we give them answers, they will be in a receptive mood. So when they ask you, actually when we'll be talking about the techniques of da'wah, we will be talking about the issue of arousing the curiosity of a non-Muslim. You let him or her ask you questions, and after they ask you questions, then you tactfully answer those questions, because this is a very good opportunity for you to present your commodity, which is Islam. Now, da'wah is compulsory upon every Muslim, in whatever capacity you are. You don't have to have a degree in Islamic Sharia. You don't have to have a master's degree. Whatever you know about Islam, it's your responsibility to convey it. And if this is your responsibility, then you have to learn how to do it. All the efforts that you render in learning how to do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you for that. So in a hadith that was narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بلغوا عني ولو آية وحدثوا عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج ومن كذب علي متعمدا فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. So Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As the translation of the hadith, narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, convey the message on my behalf, even if it's only one verse. So now we don't have Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with us, we don't have Abu Bakr, we don't have Umar, so it's our responsibility to convey the message of Islam on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ. This is the first meaning. The second meaning, to convey the message about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Many people, especially enemies of Islam, are ignorant about the Prophet ﷺ. So they keep on writing negative books about the Prophet. They come up with blasphemous cartoons about the Prophet ﷺ. They do weird things against the Prophet ﷺ. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we show them the other side, we show them the true image of the Prophet ﷺ, because these people are ignorant about him. So you deliver the message about him, or you deliver the message on your behalf. So if you really love him, you really believe in him, if he's your role model, then you have to deliver the message on his behalf, and you have to deliver the message about him. Because delivering the message about him will endear him to the people. It will make people like him. It will make people curious. They will want to learn more about him. Then it continues, وَحَدِّثُوا عَنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَا حَرَجٍ. It has multiple meanings. So talk about the children of Israel, and there is no problem in that. In other words, there are stories that were communicated by the children of Israel to the Muslims, especially about the Torah. So if these stories are in conformity with the teachings of Islam, share such stories with the Muslims. If they do not contravene with the teachings of Islam, so there is no problem in sharing their stories with others. However, if the stories are wrong, they contradict with the teachings of Islam, don't share them with the others. Also talk about them. Whatever the Quran says about them, share it with others. Whatever the hadith talk about, share it, because this is exactly what they did. So you don't fabricate lies about them. You talk about them according to what you learn from the Quran and from the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. Then the Prophet ﷺ warns us. He says, وَمَنْ كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ مُتَعَمِّدًا فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Whoever lies upon me, whoever fabricates lies about me intentionally, then he should prepare his abode in the hellfire. So again, this is a warning to us. If you want to say anything about the Prophet ﷺ, make sure it's authentic. And actually nowadays we have sources from where we can determine whether a hadith is authentic or not authentic. And in the past it was difficult. We would solely rely on some scholars. Whatever they said, we would take it. But nowadays we have many sources. So make sure that whatever information you deliver to either to Muslims or non-Muslims is authentic. And the reason for this is so many things. One of them is, you might be a Muslim doing da'wah to a non-Muslim, and you want to mention good things appealing to him. You quote a fabricated hadith which is da'if. You know it's da'if, but you think it will appeal to him. Now the danger is, if this person in the future finds out that the information you were feeding him with was fabricated, you lose trust, you lose credibility. He will never like to see you again. So do not underestimate the intellect of a non-Muslim, the one you're talking to. If you're not sure about an issue, tell him or her, I will research and come back to you. I used to encounter or to meet with one non-Muslim. He was a Christian some time back. He would ask me sometimes offensive questions, sometimes tough questions. And if I was not sure about the answer, I would tell him, I don't know, I will research and come back to you. And I would do my research and I would go back to him. So some people said that, this guy is not serious, he's just arguing about Islam, he's just making a fuss out of nothing. I told them, I don't judge anyone, I don't know what's in the heart of this person. After good 6 years, he became a Muslim, and now he's a good Muslim, better than some even born Muslims. During the Fajr prayer, you see him in the masjid, Dhuhr. So he's now a good Muslim after asking questions for a long time. Now, if I used to feed him with false information because I wanted to look in front of him a Superman who knows everything, he would never have liked to see me. So you have to make sure the information you impart to the non-Muslim or the new Muslim is correct. And there is no problem if you say you don't know. No one knows everything. If anyone claims he knows everything, he is a liar. No one knows everything. So why should we pretend we know and then tell lies for which we will be responsible on the Day of Judgment? So it's very important to do da'wah. Actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, wal asr. He's swearing by the time. He swears by the time. Innal insana lafi khusr. Indeed, mankind is in loss. Everyone is in loss. Mankind is in loss. Except illa alladhina amanu. Except those who have believed. Wa amilu salihat. Done righteous deeds. Wa tawasaw bil haqq. And advised each other to follow the truth. Wa tawasaw bis sabr. And advised each other to be patient. Actually here it's to be patient. There is a typo here. To be patient. Now Surah Al-Asr talks about faith, good deeds, enjoining the truth, and enduring with patience. Can anyone tell us what's the importance, the significance of this order? Faith first. Don't do da'wah before you have faith. Then good deeds after having faith. This faith has to be manifested in good deeds. Then advising people to do what's right and to avoid what's wrong, and to patiently persevere in the path of doing da'wah. Does anyone know the significance of this order? Faith, good deeds, enjoining truth. Actually, da'wah is part of enjoining what's right, because those people that you want to do da'wah to have their own weird beliefs. Some of them believe in some creatures as gods. Some of them worship idols. Some of them worship human beings. So you want to deliver them from ignorance, to come to monotheism, to worship only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you are enjoining them to do good. After they follow the truth, they will abandon their bad practices. So you get rewards in doing that. And actually, according to another hadith, if you influence someone to do something good and this person does it, you will get rewards the same as that person is getting. So if someone became a Muslim and started to pray, paid zakah, fasted during Ramadan, the rewards he gets, you get the same, because you were the reason for him to follow this light of monotheism. So the question is, what's the significance of this order? Faith, good deeds, enjoining truth, and persevering. 4. Does anyone know the significance of this order? Yes, sister.
I think the first one is you need faith and be able to invite others.
So, faith makes you a Muslim. You testify that there is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah, and that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the final messenger of Allah. So by this you become a Muslim. Now after becoming a Muslim, your faith, you have to strengthen your faith before you impart the knowledge to others. Because if your faith is still shaky and you say you will do da'wah, you might find someone who is knowledgeable who might challenge you. And when he challenges you, your faith will become even weaker and weaker. So you have to strengthen your faith first. Then you share the knowledge with others. 1. 2, if you strengthen your faith, you do good deeds sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will protect you, Allah will guide you, Allah will reward you. So don't underestimate yourself that I'm only one person, these people are many, how shall I do da'wah to them? This person has a high position. If you are sincere and you explore the most effective ways of doing da'wah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. So Allah can't bless you if you don't have faith, if you don't believe in Him. So you don't trust Him, you don't believe in Him, so He will abandon you to depend on those whom you believe in. But if you believe in Him and you want to do the job for His sake, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. Then good deeds. These good deeds will prove that your faith is true. So the faith has to be manifested in good deeds. The faith is between you and Allah. We don't know what's in your heart. But when you do good deeds, you become an example to others. So if you enjoin people to be kind to others and they see you kind person to others, so this will help you in whatever you do. But if you enjoin people to be kind yet you are rude, they will not trust you. So by doing good deeds, you become a role model. So if you talk about something like being kind, giving charity, and they see you do it, it will be more effective than just giving it a lip service. And then with faith equipped with good deeds, then you enjoy what's right and you endure, because it's not going to be easy. Someone has been born in a certain culture. He grew up that way. His father was worshipping idols. His grandfather was worshipping idols. So it will not be easy for you to transform this person from idol worship into monotheism just in one day. You need a lot of patience. And in doing this, a lot of people will hate you. They will accuse you. They will call you names. They will discredit you. They will do weird things. But because you're doing the work of Allah, you need to endure with patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you victory in the end. So faith and good deeds are personal. It's between you and Allah. Faith between you and Allah. Good deeds between you and Allah. And it depends which good deeds you are doing. Sometimes between you and other human beings. For example, being kind to others. It's a good deed between you and Allah. Allah will reward you. At the same time, other people are benefiting from it. But the act of enjoining good and forbidding evil involves other people. So this is when you have to be careful to learn how to do it in the best possible manner. So you have a backup of faith, good deeds, and now you will have the courage of doing the job, because you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on your side. And actually, if you find someone doing some work for the sake of Allah, not in all situations, in some situations, if this person faces problems, it could be he's not doing it in the proper way, it could be he has ulterior motives. But if you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you explore the best possible means of doing it and you seek the blessings of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy. So patience in Surah Al-Asr is when you are harmed, mocked, harassed, offended among others because of your faith. Because of your faith and good deeds, people will harm you, they will harass you, and because of inviting others to Islam, but you have to endure. We should be concerned that if we don't convey the message to disbelievers, we would be punished for neglecting our responsibilities and duties. So this is our responsibility to deliver the message. And if we don't, we will be responsible on the day of judgment. If you had a non-Muslim friend, and that non-Muslim friend, you did not try even to explain Islam to him, you did not try to present Islam to him, that person will make you an excuse on the day of judgment. He will say, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this man was my friend, he did not do da'wah to me. Now here you are afraid, maybe if you do da'wah to him, you will lose his friendship. But this is making matters worse, because if he discovers the truth from another person and you didn't tell him, he will hate you. He'll say, why didn't you tell me since a long time ago? And if he dies before you tell him anything about Islam, you'll be responsible on the day of judgment. So it's very important to learn the skills of dealing with human beings, because when you're doing da'wah, you are going to deal with human beings. And this is why we are here, to learn the skills of dealing with human beings, because these skills will help you in doing da'wah. But if you just do da'wah without doing a feasibility study, without learning about the culture of your target audience, you will be in trouble. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in a hadith that was narrated by Ibn Umar, says, المؤمن الذي يخالط الناس ويصبر على أذاهم أعظم أجرا من المؤمن الذي لا يخالط الناس ولا يصبر على أذاهم. A believer who interacts with people and forbears when they annoy and harm him is better and preferred to Allah to a believer who does not interact with people and thus doesn't bear their annoyance and disturbance. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling us to interact with the people. So you can't say, you know, I'm only one person, I look different, they will discriminate against me, they don't like my culture, they don't like my nationality. It's your responsibility to explore the means of interacting with these people. And if you do, you have a lot of rewards. and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love you. So among the things that will bring you the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to interact with the people. Why do you interact with them? Because you are preoccupied with the notion of doing da'wah to them. You want to deliver them from ignorance. You want to deliver them from idol worship. So you are doing the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are interacting with them. You are befriending them because you want to do the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a question comes. Why did the Prophet ﷺ encourage us to interact with the people? Why should we interact with them? Yes, sister? To build love and trust. And actually, when we talk about the methods of doing da'wah, in some situations, you have to earn the trust of that person. You have to cultivate friendship with that person before even you begin talking about Islam. So, especially if he comes from the West, he has some concerns about Muslims and Islam, you cannot just bump into him and start telling him about Islam. So you first earn his trust. After he trusts you, he takes you as a friend, then gradually you can start talking about Islam because now he trusts you. But if you begin from the beginning when he doesn't know you, he doesn't trust you, he hates Islam, he hates Muslims, and you start Islam, you are losing him. So, and we don't want you to lose him. We want you to be tactful in dealing with this person. So the Prophet doesn't want Muslims to be alone, to be segregated. Those are non-Muslims will be just together. We stay together, build houses near to one another. We go to a neighborhood, only Muslims. He wants us to interact with them. Because if we interact with them and we implement the teachings of Islam, even without saying anything, they will be curious. They will come to us. They will be asking us questions. And when we put them in a position of asking us questions, they will be in a receptive mood. If you answer them properly, they will take your answers seriously. But how are we going to interact with them when we segregate ourselves from them? We stay aloof from them. We don't like to talk to them. We don't like to associate with them. They're kafir, we call them names. The Prophet says you have to interact with them. And actually by interacting with them, you learn a lot. You learn about their culture. You learn about their thoughts. You know, even if someone is your enemy, if you want to be victorious over him, you have to come closer to him. So you know what he thinks, what he's plotting, what he's planning. This will equip you with defensive mechanisms. But if you are ignorant about your enemy, how are you going to win? For example, if there are two football matches, they will be playing against two football teams. They will be playing against one another. You will see the players preoccupied watching videos of the other team. So capitalizing on their mistakes. To see, you know, they're doing this mistake, we will capitalize on this in order to win the game. They will spend time watching. So you can't distance yourself from them. So one of the reasons is to influence them with our Islamic values and teachings. That's why it's important for us to interact with the non-Muslims. 2, to learn about their culture, about their idiosyncrasies, and about how they think, their mindsets, and to capitalize on those mindsets in order to present Islam after we know what they want, what they like, and what they don't like. Number 3, to make them comfortable with us. So when we interact with them for some time, if we do it in a proper way, we are going to earn their trust. What else? Why should we interact with them? With the people, Muslims, non-Muslims. Why is it important to interact with them? We gave some reasons why it's important. What else? Because if you interact with them, you are dispelling some of their misconceptions. Because some of them have the idea that, you know, Muslims don't like us. They look at us as filth. So when you interact with them, you are dispelling their misconceptions. How many times, for example, we dealt with people from the West, we asked them, what was your attitude before coming to Kuwait, for example? They would say, they used to tell us that Muslims don't like to associate with non-Muslims. Muslims don't like to interact with non-Muslims. So they would say, here we are with you. So this alone means a lot. So this person has been given negative ideas about Islam and Muslims. So when he comes and interacts with Muslims, he finds something different. So this is you are actually untying some of the knots that had been tied before this person came here. One of them is that Muslims can't interact with the non-Muslims. So it's also our responsibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. So let there be among you one united community, inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, and it is these who are truly successful. So what this ayah means, first of all, it's the responsibility of every Muslim to do da'wah. According to a hadith, even if you know only one ayah, it's your responsibility to share this ayah with the non-Muslims. And we said da'wah is not only by words, by your actions, how you talk, what you say, your choice of words, how you behave. So even if you are not a knowledgeable person, you can do da'wah by the way you behave with the non-Muslims. You can invite them, make friends with them, interact with them. If they like swimming, go swimming with them. If they like football, go play football with them. Let them see you as a good person, as a nice person. So when they start asking you questions, you will tell them, I was influenced by Islam because the Prophet said this and that. So they will start becoming curious to know more about Islam. So it's the responsibility. However, there is professional da'wah. So this is the responsibility of a few. So this ayah is saying some people should assign themselves to doing professional da'wah. In other words, they should do their research, they should learn a lot, they should spend most of their time in doing da'wah. So these people, they should be a few from a community who assign themselves to the responsibility of doing da'wah. Because not everyone can do it on a massive scale, but there should be some people. Now, if in a community there is no anyone who has assigned himself the responsibility of professionally doing da'wah, then it becomes the responsibility of everybody in the community. So this ayah says, these people are the successful. So if you're doing da'wah, you are the successful. Now there is this word, khair, in Arabic. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْهُمْ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ. Does anyone know what's the meaning of khair? The word khair has a lot of connotations. Can anyone share one of the connotations of khair? Yes, brother? Goodness. Khair, goodness. What else? Blessings. Goodness, blessings. What else? Goodness, blessings, generosity, benefits, advantages, goodwill, altruism. So everything good, everything that has benefits for you is khair. It could be good health, good children, good food. Everything that's good for you is khair. Now, the ayah tells us that if you take on the responsibility of doing da'wah, Allah will bless you in different ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His own ways of blessing people. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises you He will bless you, you rest assured that you will be blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's obligation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَلَوْ آمَنَ أَهْلُ الْكِتَابِ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ مِنْهُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَأَكْثَرُهُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. So you believers are the best community ever brought forth for the good of mankind. So the believers are the best community. Why are they the best community? Because you enjoin what's right, forbid what's evil, and believe in Allah. So one of the reasons why we are the best, because first, we encourage people to do what's good, what's right. One of them is doing da'wah. So when you do da'wah to someone, you want this person to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to abandon idol worship, to abandon whatever he worships apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is to his salvation. So you are saving this person from a lot of trouble. And actually, if a person resigns himself to his whims and desires and gives up on worshipping Allah and decides to worship idols, he will be in trouble on earth. For example, just one example among the many. Someone is suffering from HIV, AIDS. This person doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He rather believes in witchcraft. So he will not realize that HIV doesn't have any cure. So because he isn't a believer, he's a superstitious person. So magicians will capitalize on his ignorance and disbelief to extort money from him. So a person will come to him, a magician, and say, you know what? Your father is the one bewitching you. Your mother is bewitching you. So you have to pay this much money. You have to do. So first, they will extort money from you, and they will disseminate the seeds of hatred between you and your family members. So you lose money, you lose your family members, you lose your friends. So they give you the impression that those people are your enemies. So you lose everything, and finally you die. And when you die with Allah, you have nothing. So by doing da'wah to these people, telling them that they have to worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the only one who can harm and benefit them, we are doing them a favor as well as doing ourselves a favor, because we will be rewarded by what we do and by what we say if we are sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the reason why we are the best, we enjoin what's good, we forbid what's evil, and we believe in Allah, which is very important, because belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the motivator for you to do good, because you know Allah will reward you. As we usually say, one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be sincere to Him, whatever you do it for the sake of Allah. Don't do it for the sake of human beings. So one of the reasons is majority of the human beings do not appreciate. You do someone a favor, when he solves all his problems, he will forget about you. You help someone to get a high position. When he's in that position, because he wants to satisfy his ego, he doesn't want to see you. He sees you as a threat because he wants to appear as a Superman. But when you see him, when he sees you, just by seeing you, he feels small, because he knows you did him a favor. You are the one who propelled him to this position. So he will seek to eliminate you. So you mentored him, you help him, now he's in high position, he doesn't want to see you. So if your main aim to help this person was for him to appreciate and reward you, and if he doesn't, you are the loser. But if you did it for the sake of Allah, even if people do not appreciate, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you in different ways. And actually, the reward of Allah is the best. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He rewards you, He gives you something which is good for you, which is beneficial to you. But sometimes you need something. According to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's disadvantageous for you. It's harmful for you. So because of your limited knowledge, you insist on getting it. You get it, but it becomes the means of your destruction. I told you before about someone who bought a motorcycle to his son. He rewarded him because his son passed exams very well. Finally, what happened? It was the cause of his son's death. So he bought it for his son to be happy, but it caused his death. So he was in misery because of what he bought. So his knowledge was limited, but Allah's knowledge is unlimited. What He gives you, it's beneficial to you. So He will give you rewards in different ways if you do things for His sake. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ آمَنَ أَهْلُ الْكِتَابِ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا مِنْهُمْ. If the people of the scripture believed, it would have been better for them. مِنْهُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Among them are believers. So what do we understand from this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, مِنْهُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Among the people of the book are believers. What do we understand from this? Among them there are believers, but some of them, majority of them, are transgressors. What do we understand from this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if the people of the book, alluding to Christians and Jews, if they believed, it would have been better for them if they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it continues, among them there are a few who are believers, but majority of them are transgressors. So what did defiantly disobedient? What do we learn from this? So Allah is telling us, among the people of the book, the Jews and Christians, some of them are believers. Yes, Brother Muhammad.
Is that what you're asking? What does that mean?
Yes.
It means that there is a small group actually within the Jews and within the Christians that still know the truth of whatever the Prophet taught.
Yes.
Right? But the majority of them do not.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So some of them know the truth about the Prophet ﷺ. Some of them are Unitarians. They worship only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they might be in a place whereby they didn't encounter a Muslim. And if they get the chance to get a Muslim who has skills in doing da'wah, it will be easy for them to become Muslims. So instead of judging people, so you see non-Muslims, you paint them with the same brush. These are all kuffar, kill them. You don't know what's in their hearts. So your responsibility is to explore the best possible means of conveying the message to them. Even if they do not accept the message, at least they will change their attitudes, or their mindset will change, or you are mitigating their enmity towards Islam. So superiority, actually doing da'wah is superior to anything else that you can ever imagine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَى إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. The translation is, and who is better in speech than one who invites to Allah and does righteousness and says, indeed, I am of the Muslims. Three things: inviting people to Allah, spreading the message about Allah, spreading monotheism, teaching people to worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be a righteous person, so to implement what you preach, because actions speak louder than words. So you invite people to believe in Allah, and you put into practice what you preach, and you tell them that I am a believer. So why is it important? Actually, the last one. So not only should you invite them to believe, you have to practice what you preach, and you have to be proud of being a Muslim. So what do we understand from this? Three things. There is no one who is better in speech than one who invites people to believe in Allah alone, in monotheism, and the one who does righteous deeds, and then who says publicly, I am a Muslim. Why are they important? Yes, Brother Abdullah.
Well, because if you're like, you're given dawah, and then as soon as you're done, you go down and you start smoking, having a beer, whatever, and people aren't going to really believe what you're saying about the dawah.
Yeah, so you have to be proud of your identity. So you are inviting people to Islam, and here you are ashamed to be a Muslim. For example, I am Hassan, because I'm doing da'wah to non-Muslims, I change my name and become Hansen. So every time I tell them I'm Hansen, and then they discover I am Hassan. So you have to be proud of, they would think, why isn't he proud of his religion? If he is inviting us to become Muslims, why isn't he proud of his religion? So you have to take it as your identity. Or some of them who are clever, they will think that you don't want to identify yourself with Muslims because you are a sinner. So you go to commit sins so that they don't identify you. So it's very important. You preach whatever you say, and you feel proud of who you are. At the same time, as you're proud of who you are as a Muslim, you don't look down upon others. You don't give them the impression that you feel superior to them. There is a time I had a friend. He used to tell me that, when you get a non-Muslim who needs information about Islam, give me the chance to talk to them. I told him, you have to be careful. He said, no, I have read books. I lived in the West. I dealt with some of them. So I gave him the chance one day to talk to one lady who wasn't a Muslim. She was a teacher. After 2 hours, she came to me. She told me, I don't like to see that man again. So I asked her why. She said, I thought I got the impression that he was always praising himself, his family, his clan. So he's using Islam to satisfy his ego, to feel important. Because she was a teacher, she was a psychology teacher, she knows. So we have to be careful. When you're talking to them, don't give them the impression that you are better than them. Even don't praise yourself. You don't need to praise. You just focus on the facts. The facts will speak by themselves. Not every time Islam is good, Islam is excellent. No, focus on the facts. They themselves will judge whether it's good or bad. But don't say it. It's easy to say it, but proof. What they want from you is a proof. Now, actually, this quote is very important, and I would like us to comment on it. If it's true that he said this, it's very important. He said, does anyone know who this guy is? David Cameron, the former Prime Minister of Britain. Okay, he said, It is mainstream Britain which needs to integrate more with the Muslim way of life, not the other way around. And this is when he was Prime Minister. So he says mainstream Britain are the ones who are supposed to integrate with the way of life of the Muslims and not the other way around. What do we take of this? Yes, brother.
He was basically admitting secretly, probably, that the Muslims are right. You know, that the way that they live is superior, and it would be beneficial, even for the non-Muslims, to conduct themselves like the Muslims. You know, with avoiding zina and the various things that are haram in Islam, that people don't realize, but they really do create a detriment in society.
Yeah. So actually what he means, the way of life of Muslims is good. So the British have to learn how to live as Muslims. And actually this statement is a good acknowledgement about the values of Islam. If we live by the teachings of Islam, this is enough as dawah. My first time to go to America was in 2001. So I met a guy from Somalia who suffered a lot in Yemen, and finally he got the chance to go to America. He got the green card. So he finally got a job in a supermarket that was owned by the Jews. The owners of the supermarket were Jews, not Muslims. So the brother is a Muslim. After some time he got a job. He was jobless for a long time, and the supermarket is owned by non-Muslims. So he stayed for 3 months without praying, no salah, because he was afraid if they saw him pray, they would fire him. But after some time, he gathered his strength. He said, if I die today, will the supermarket help me in my grave? Will the salary help me? So he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and went to the owner of the supermarket. His request was at least to give him 15 minutes to pray. And he acknowledged that I'm a Muslim, was born a Muslim, just I want you to allow me to pray. They said, okay, deal. We will give you 15 minutes to pray, but you have to work extra 15 minutes to make up for those 15 minutes. He agreed on that. Guess what happened after 3 months? They made him the manager of the supermarket. Because when they saw him pray, when they saw him work, dedicated to his work, they trusted him. So here they forgot about Islam, about Muslim. So his behavior attracted them, and it made them promote him. So if he had stayed in fear that, if I pray they will fire me, maybe he would be fired for some other reasons. So if you trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make everything easy. So never lose trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are points to consider before and when we do da'wah. Yes, we will talk about techniques probably next week, but these points are very important. Even if you know the techniques of doing da'wah, but you as a person, you are lacking in something, the techniques won't benefit you at all. It's, for example, if someone doesn't have self-confidence and then you teach them how to drive, they won't. Or if someone has a phobia of sea or river or lake, and you want this person to go and swim, they can't, because there's a problem within themselves. So you have to give them confidence, remove the phobia in their hearts, then train them. People have different experiences. I know some people who don't like to swim, and the reason they say, when I was young, I used to go to a river. There is a time when I was swimming, and a snake passed by me, touched me, and someone told me if I was bitten by that snake, I would die. So that snake made him fear water. So even now, if you tell him to go and swim, he doesn't like. So you have to remove that fear first before you teach him how to swim. Because even if you teach him or her how to swim, you are the best trainer in swimming. With this fear within this person, there is no way they will go and swim. So it's very important to acquire and adopt some qualities that we need in order to do the job. First of all, you have to know that you are doing the best job, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the one to pay you. Did prophets and messengers get any payment? Did anyone come to the Prophet ﷺ that, you taught me Islam, I will pay you 100 KD? No, they didn't. They were not paid by anyone, and they would continuously say, "We don't seek any reward from you." And we talked last week about this. We said one of the reasons why the prophets and messengers didn't accept any reward from the people, because prophets and messengers are the best human beings. So how can he condescend himself to get rewards by someone who is inferior to him in terms of worshipping Allah? So he takes from the best, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if they allowed to be paid by people, people would think, this is a corrupt messenger. If I pay him, he will change his statement. I will pay him more so that he can allow me to worship idols. So they would have the idea that they can influence you because you accept money. For example, those of you who are teachers, do you have teachers here? Teachers, we have 2 teachers. Have you ever been in a situation whereby parents will inundate you with gifts, gold, watches, and before the end of the term, they would come to you, "What did you do with my kid? Please help him. At least give him one grade more, right? One extra grade." So they were at the beginning, they were giving you gifts because they're targeting something. And this is a kind of corruption. So a prophet wouldn't do that, because if, for example, someone paid him, he wouldn't respect him. So the prophets would say, "My reward is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." And the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best. Actually, even now, some people would say, that was the time of the prophets and messengers. Now things have changed. You can't just depend on Allah. I just told you some weeks ago that someone came to me. He was complaining about his company. He was working so hard, extra hours, but they didn't give him a bonus. And they would promote others, they didn't promote him. So he was complaining about that. They don't appreciate what I do. I give the company my soul, my heart. I do everything I can. And sometimes on weekends I go and work, but they don't appreciate me. Even verbal appreciation, I don't get it. I told him, you know what? From now on, first I asked him questions. Would you resign and get another job? He said, no way. Would you go back to your country? He said, no way. So I said, now what you do, put in your heart, just intend in your heart that you are doing it for the sake of Allah. Whatever you're doing it for the sake of Allah, because it's a command of Allah that we should work. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Say, work righteousness, for indeed Allah and His Messenger and the believers will see your work. So you're doing it for the sake of Allah. And try your best, acquire some new skills, try to perfect your work. Don't complain to anyone, even to your colleagues. Just concentrate on your work and don't talk to anyone except about work. What you do is just pray to Allah. After 3 months, he came to me and said, you know what? I implemented exactly what you said, and now they have increased my salary by 20%. When he decided to complain to Allah, Allah helped him. And Allah can do it today and tomorrow. And there are so many stories. So you are doing the best job. And you will be rewarded abundantly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, who is better in speech than one who calls men to Allah, works righteousness and says, I am of those who submit to Allah in Islam. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنْ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَى إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. So the best thing that you can do on earth is to do da'wah, to invite people to monotheism, to make people worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And actually, according to a lot of hadith, if, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who guides, but if through your humble efforts someone becomes a Muslim, according to one hadith, you get rewarded better than red camels. The red camels were a treasure in Arabia during those days, and nowadays it could be a Ferrari, or depending on where you are. In another hadith, which is da'if, but sometimes people quote it, it's better for you than the world and everything in it. But this hadith is da'if. So be sincere to Allah. This is very important. You know, I know some people who, yes, they do da'wah, but these people, they target some personalities. If someone is influential, they will go do da'wah to him. Do they do da'wah because of Allah? No, because they're expecting something from him. If he's an ambassador, maybe they need a visa, especially if he's a Western ambassador from America, Canada, Britain, or some other countries. So they would do da'wah, be friends with him. What do they want? They're targeting visa. So do it for the sake of Allah. No ulterior motives. If you do it for the sake of Allah, Allah will bless you. Allah will accept your efforts and you will be successful. But if you have ulterior motives, how will you be successful? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Bayyinah, and they have been commanded no more than this, to worship Allah, offering Him sincere devotion, being true in faith, and to establish regular prayer. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. So everything that you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, ikhlas means separation of chaff from grain. So if, for example, you are a farmer, you remove the chaff from grain, this is ikhlas. So you are trying to get the pure grains. So ikhlas here is to purify your heart, purify your intentions. You take out all ulterior motives. You're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So another thing you should know, people will abuse, scorn, poke fun at you, but make sure you react positively. And actually this is very important, because some people have studied psychology. So you talk to someone who knows psychology. Intentionally, they will say something that will ruffle your moods, because they want you to react negatively and lose focus. So when you lose focus, you won't be able to say anything. So they will abuse you, but stay focused. Don't react to what they say. In the end, they will respect you. For example, Zayd bin Sa'na. Zayd bin Sa'na was a Jewish businessman in Medina. He had learned about the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet is patient, is forbearing. Even if you abuse him, he doesn't retaliate. Even if you do weird stuff to him, he will be patient. He won't retaliate in a negative way. So he had read about the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. So he wanted to test him whether this is true or not. So one day the Prophet ﷺ went to buy some dates from him, tamr. But he didn't have cash to pay. So he told Zayd bin Sa'na, I will pay you after some time. Today I don't have cash. So they agreed together about the time when the Prophet ﷺ will pay the money. Now, before the time for payment, before the deadline, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching his companions. Zayd bin Sa'na comes from nowhere, and he goes straight. When the Prophet is in front of his companions addressing them, he goes straight to the Prophet ﷺ and he starts shaking him and says, pay me my money, give me my money. You children of Abdul Muttalib, grandchildren of Abdul Muttalib, you are always procrastinating. Now the Prophet didn't procrastinate, it was not yet time. Zayd bin Sa'na was doing this intentionally to see how the Prophet will react. Umar ibn al-Khattab wanted to kill Zayd. The Prophet said, no. Cool down. So the Prophet told them, you rather pay him what he deserves and advise him to be kind when he claims his money. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered one of his companions to pay Zayd 3 times what he deserved. For example, if Zayd was demanding 2 KD, the Prophet requested them to pay 6 KD. So what happened? Zayd bin Sa'na instantaneously became a Muslim. He said, what I read about him is true because of this scenario. Now, had the Prophet ﷺ reacted negatively, ordered his companions to beat him up, would he have been a Muslim? So sometimes people would do some things on purpose. And actually, according to psychology, if someone mistreats you, if someone yells at you, if someone abuses you, if someone offends you, he expects the same reaction from you. So if he abuses you, he expects you to do the same. But if you keep quiet, he will be afraid. Maybe he's plotting something bigger against me. Maybe he's waiting for another time to attack me by surprise. So this person will not sleep. He will always be thinking about what your next move is. But if you react the way he wanted, he knows, oh, he's like me. So you have to be careful not to react negatively while doing da'wah. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, they used to accuse him as a liar. They would say he was a poet. They would say he was mad, crazy. They would say he was a magician. But the Prophet ﷺ would not react negatively. And sometimes he would answer, but his answer would be polite. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ قُلْ إِنِ افْتَرَيْتُهُ فَعَلَيَّ إِجْرَامِي وَأَنَا بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تُجْرِمُونَ. Or do they say he has forged it, concocted the Quran, i.e. the noble Quran? So they used to that, some of them would say this Quran is a handiwork of the Prophet. He read some books of the Christians and the Jews, and he came up with Quran. The man didn't know how to read and write. So how would he concoct the Quran? So the Prophet ﷺ would tell them, Allah would order him to tell them, say, if I had forged it, on me is my sin, and I am free of the sins of which you are guilty. So if I forged the Quran, it's my sin, not yours. So, and the sins that you commit, I'm free of them. There is a lady from Alaska. Actually, she was the first lady I met from Alaska 5 years ago. Her name is Ellen. She was an environmentalist. And she would always criticize Islam, Muslims. There is nothing about environment. You go to Muslim countries, you go to beaches, they dump things over there, they don't care. You find some broken glasses, TVs in the rivers. She would always say stuff, and the way she said it, it was rude. So she was saying this in front of the people because they brought her to me to do da'wah to her. So she was critical of everything Islamic, and in a rude way, without even a smile. So I let her go on, speak, until when she was done, I said, by the way, you are very eloquent. You can become an MP or a Speaker of Parliament. After saying this, at least she smiled. Then now I started talking to her. She didn't become a Muslim, but she turned 90 degrees towards somehow respecting Islam. And on some occasions she would come and ask for books, and most importantly she wanted books about environment. And alhamdulillah, we used to have some books, some few books about talking about how to take care of the environment from the Islamic point of view. Maybe she became a Muslim, maybe she didn't. So, but imagine if I also lashed back, what would have happened? So you try to win the heart of this person by tolerating their behavior. Nuh alayhi salam, his story is a parable for us to reflect upon and put into practice with regard to patience and perseverance. So Nuh alayhi salam, inviting his people for 950 years, doing da'wah 950 years, just a few believed. So what are the kinds of insults that that were meted out to Nuh alayhi salam? What did they do, his people, to harm him? They harmed him in different ways. Does anyone remember one of them? They stoned him. So for example, a man went to Nuh alayhi salam carrying his son on his shoulders, and in the presence of Nuh alayhi salam, he told his son, this man is a liar, never believe in him. Even if I die, you have to hold him as an enemy to you. The way I am advising you is the same way my father was advising me, my grandfather. So they are instilling into the mind of the children to hate Nuh alayhi salam. So the son, the boy, told his father to put him down. He took a stone and hurled it at Nuh alayhi salam, a young boy, because he was influenced by the statements of his father. Nuh alayhi salam, messenger of Allah, prophet, being stoned by just a small boy for the sake of Allah. Nuh alayhi salam didn't commit any crime. His crime was to invite people to monotheism, people who were engrossed in idol worship. But Nuh persevered. Did he beat the child? Did he fight? No, he never did that. So what else? They called him crazy, they called him a liar, they accused him of lying. What else? They ignored him. So they reached a point whereby they didn't like to listen to him. Whenever he was talking to them, they would put their fingers in their ears and they would cover their heads because they didn't want to listen to him anymore. And they would threaten him, bring the punishment. You've been threatening us that there is punishment. Now it's a long time. Where is the punishment? So Nuh alayhi salam was always patient. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تِلْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهَا إِلَيْكَ ما كنت تعلمها أنت ولا قومك من قبل هذا فاصبر إن العاقبة للمتقين. So it says that is from the news of the unseen, which you revealed to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You knew it not, neither you nor your people before this. So be patient. Indeed, the best outcome is for the righteous. So today you will suffer, but the best outcome will be for the righteous. Actually, they say he laughs big, he who laughs last. So during the time of Nuh alayhi salam, who was the last one to laugh? Nuh alayhi salam and the believers. When the people were destroyed by the flood, no more would you see any disbeliever or any traces of them. The believers who went with Nuh alayhi salam on board the ark were the survivors, were the believers. And actually, if you read the stories of the prophets, may Allah bless them all, from Adam alayhi salam up to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they emerged victorious in the end. So this is a lesson to us that if you follow the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will always be victorious. And actually, this is a hadith which tells us that Islam will reach everywhere. We will skip it. And number 3, you are just a torch bearer. So you are doing da'wah, yes, but don't force people. Some people would continuously say, these people, they don't like to believe in Allah. What's wrong with them? They would force them. They would use means that would give the others the impression that this person is forcing me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet, فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرْ. Therefore, give admonition, remind them, for you are just one to admonish. You are not to manage men's affairs. So you can't force them to be believers. You can't exercise force. You can't threaten them that if you don't believe, I will go to war with you. You are just a reminder. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who guides. Now, there are some types of guidance. Guidance has some categories. Does anyone remember any of the categories of guidance? So there is Hidayatul Dilala, the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to each and everyone. He sent to us messengers, scriptures, and within us we have a moral compass that guides us. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And the soul and the spirit and the proportionate order in which it was created, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired in it what's right, what's wrong. So a young child knows what's right, what's wrong. So Allah has guided us all. So those who take baby steps to appreciate and follow the guidance of Allah, Allah will make it easy for them. So guidance is divided into 2. There is Hidayatul Dilala wa Hidayatul Ma'una. Hidayatul Dilala is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us all. He sent to us messengers, gave us scriptures, and we have moral compass within us. He brings to us some signs to show us the right way. So if we appreciate Allah and we follow, we accept this guidance, Allah will make it easy. As we said before, for example, you are driving to Fahahil. You don't know the road. So you find a traffic policeman, you ask him, he guides you that you have to go straight. You will find a curve. After 10 meters, you leave it. The second curve, you take it. So you thank him. You say, thank you so much. I was in a hurry. I didn't know about the curve. If I didn't find you, I would have been in trouble. So because you appreciated, the traffic policeman says, let me go with you because there are some people making some stunts over there. They can disturb you. So he goes with you to show you the why, because you appreciate it. So he gives you more help. But if you are arrogant, you say, I have GPS. I don't believe that there is a curve over there. It doesn't show on my GPS. This traffic policeman tells you, I'm here for 30 years, and you're still talking about GPS. You'll say, okay, let your GPS guide you. So you go astray, the GPS misguides you, you get in trouble. Whose mistake was it? Was it the traffic policeman or you? It's you. So if you accept the guidance of Allah, Allah will make it easy for you. So the word musaytir means the one who dominates over something, presides over it, and commits himself to knowing all about its affairs, as well as writing what it or he does. So some people when they're doing da'wah, they would be spies to the non-Muslims. You see, these guys, I'm always doing da'wah to them. They're still dancing, they're doing this. You are not. Don't spy over them. Your work is just to present Islam. You can't force them to be Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us against this. Also, some translations of musaytir means the authority to kill. Unfortunately, you do have some people, if you don't agree with their doctrine, they kill you. If you don't agree, if you disagree with them in one way or the other, I have heard of some groups, they are holding their teachers hostages. So imagine someone was his teacher, because they disagreed, so the teacher becomes a hostage of this person. So we can't kill anyone. This is not our job. Our job is just to present Islam. So if someone for example might come up and say, you know what, Islam is very rude. You know, some radical Muslims are killing people. This is what Islam is all about. You share with them these instructions that the Prophet ﷺ was giving to his companions before going to war or while going to war. What did he tell them? Don't cut a tree. Don't kill a child. Don't kill all the people. Don't destroy a temple or a church. Don't destroy a building. Don't kill those who surrendered. Don't kill who ran away. Don't kill a woman. Don't kill a sick person. Don't kill a monk or a priest. Don't disfigure the dead. Don't mutilate them. Don't kill an animal except for food. Be good to the prisoners of war and feed them. Don't enforce Islam upon anyone. These were the guidelines given by the Prophet ﷺ when going to war. Going to war with who? With those enemies of Islam who threatened the Muslims. All the wars that the Prophet ﷺ and his companions went to were defensive and not offensive. So they were defending themselves. So someone initiated the war, he galvanized support, he rallied people against you, he's bent on killing you, but the Prophet is telling you, when he resigns, don't kill him. When you take him as a prisoner of war, feed him. So imagine someone who had killed your father, your brother, your mother, now he's a prisoner of war. The Prophet says, don't kill him. The Quran goes further than that. That if your enemy surrenders to you and decides to negotiate peace with him, so agree to negotiate peace. Not only that, take him to a place where he will be safe and secure. So take your captive to a place where he will be safe and secure. So why does the Quran say that? So someone was about to kill you, or maybe he killed your relatives. Now he has surrendered. He wants to negotiate peace with you. The Quran says accept his negotiation of peace and take him to a place where he will be secure. Why? Because some radical elements might kill him. Although he has been held as a prisoner of war, he's now in the hands of Muslims. Someone might say, you know, he killed my father. He might secretly kill him. So the Quran says, take him to a place where he will be more secure, so that those radical elements don't get hold of him. This is Islam. Yes, Tony?
And if you treat your enemy like that, they'll go back and tell their families and friends how good the Muslims
are. Yeah. And actually this is what exactly happened. Many people who were captives finally became Muslims. Does anyone remember just one name of a person who was a prisoner of war? Because the Muslims were treating him well, he finally became a Muslim. Does anyone remember? Man. Thumama ibn Athal. Thumama ibn Athal was a prisoner of war. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ordered his companions to tie him by a pillar in the masjid. And the Prophet would bring him food by himself. And some companions would bring him food. And he would order his companions, don't say any negative words. Don't abuse him. Don't torture him. Don't touch him. So they were friendly with him. So the way they treated him and the way he saw Muslims committed to prayer all the time, humbling themselves, following the orders of the Prophet ﷺ, he became a Muslim by himself. So the Muslims didn't negotiate with him yet that, you know what, if you want to be free, you should be a Muslim. No, willingly, it was endogenous from himself because of the behavior of the Muslims. So we can't force anyone to be a Muslim, but our responsibility is to put him in a position whereby he will learn about Islam, to put him in a position whereby he will be curious to know more about Islam. It takes time to reap the efforts of your hard work, to reap the fruits of your hard work. So you've been doing da'wah for a long time, don't lose hope. You know, I know a man who was very tough on me. He would ask me a lot of questions, tough questions, and sometimes I didn't know the answers. Maybe he was rehearsing the questions with someone, and I would tell him, I will do my research, I will come back to you. After 6 good years, he became a Muslim. So I didn't give up on him. So don't give up on anybody. So just what you have to do, we said one of the meanings of da'wah is to invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why don't you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide this person whom you are inviting to Islam? If he's very tough, pray to Allah to soften his heart. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did that. Who are the people for whom the Prophet prayed to Allah to guide? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed to Allah to guide two people in Mecca. Does anyone remember the names? Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Jahl, Amr ibn Hisham. So the real name of Abu Jahl is Amr ibn Hisham. Actually, Abu Jahl used to be called Abu al-Hakam, translated as the father of wisdom. So the mushrikeen, whenever they were in a dilemma, Abu Jahl would always come up with a solution to solve their problems. So he was clever, shrewd and cunning. So they would call him Abu al-Hakam. But because he was not guided to Islam, the Prophet ﷺ called him Abu Jahl, the father of ignorance. Because as wise as you are, how come you didn't accept the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is clear? So the Prophet from that time on, because he didn't believe in Allah, used to call him Abu Jahl. So the Prophet ﷺ prayed to Allah to guide either Umar ibn al-Khattab or Abu Jahl. Umar ibn al-Khattab became a Muslim. So if you're doing da'wah to someone and you reach a time whereby it's difficult on you, pray to Allah to guide them. But don't lose hope. Yunus alayhi salam. Does anyone remember about Yunus what happened? Yes, brother. Yes. Does anyone remember what happened to Yunus alayhi salam? Yes, brother Abdullah.
Isn't he also known as Jonah?
Yes, Jonah, yes.
Fish ate him?
Yes.
Some kind of a fish ate him?
Yes.
And so he supplicated to Allah, basically, forgive me, you wanted me to give dawah and I didn't want to do it, I ran away, and you are telling me that I don't get to run away. And he went back, and I think he's the only prophet where every person accepted the call to Tawheed.
Yes. Actually, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam was sent to the inhabitants of a place called Nineveh in Arabic, who were idolaters and lived a shameless life in Iraq. The people disliked his interference in their way of worship, so they argued with him. We and our forefathers have worshipped these gods for many years, alluding to idols, and no harm has come upon us. So we've been worshipping idols, no harm, we are still successful. So how come you're calling us to worship only one God? So they were arrogant and disobedient. So he gave up and left. Hardly had he left the city, then the sky began to change color and looked as if they were on fire. So they saw the color of the sky change. They were afraid because he was threatening them that if you do not worship Allah, the punishment is imminent. So the people were filled with fear by this sight. They recalled the destruction of Thamud. So they remembered how Allah destroyed Thamud. Thamud, who was the prophet sent to Thamud? Salih. Thamud, Salih. And actually, for those who have come for the first time, there is a method here so that you don't forget, because always people are confused between Ad, Thamud, Salih and Hud. So we have Salih. How many letters? 1, 2, 3, 4. So was sent to Thamud. Salih was sent to Thamud. Also Thamud, how many letters? 4. So Salih, 4 letters. And then we have Ad. Who was the prophet that was sent to Ad? Hud. How many letters? 3. So Salih, 4 letters, Thamud, Ad, Hud. Now where did Salih live? Does anyone remember? Salih lived in a place called Al-Hijr, between Medina and Sham. So when you talk about Sham, those days Sham was Syria, Lebanon, Palestine and Jordan. So those areas were called Sham. And sometimes if you read some books about Islamic history, they refer to those areas as the Levant. But the Levant is not a proper name, because the Levant refers to all countries overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. So Sham is part of the Levant, but it's not the whole Levant. So we just keep it as Sham. So between Medina and Sham, there was a place called Al-Hijr. That's where Salih was living, and that's where the people of Thamud were. And then we have Ad. Where did they live? In a place called Al-Ahqaf, sand dunes between Yemen and Oman. So these people, the people of Yunus, remembered how Allah destroyed Thamud, Ad, and the people of Noah, the flood. So slowly faith started penetrating into their hearts. They all gathered on a mountain and started to beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy and forgiveness. Immediately after Yunus had left. So don't lose hope, because Yunus would have stayed to see the fruits of his toil, but because he lost hope quickly, people believed after he had left. So you cannot underestimate your efforts in doing da'wah, especially if you are doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't know what's happening in the minds of the people you are talking to, in the hearts of the people you are talking to. For example, I have a lot of experiences. I was talking to a lady from the US. She was stubborn, arrogant, but after some time she sent me an email from America that she didn't become a Muslim, but she was talking positively about Islam. Her friends became more curious and they became Muslims. So as a non-Muslim, she was doing da'wah to the non-Muslims and they became Muslims. She didn't. So she was a da'iyah in different ways. So you can't lose hope.